Game of the year, and I don't even know how to say the name. Is it Ball X Pit? Is it Ball Pit? Maybe the X is silent. I'm sorry to declare obscure, but this small indie game for $15 makes my brain so happy. I don't care if you finish this review, just go buy it. Seriously. Shout out to the developer, Kenny Sun and Friends. This is a much needed breath of fresh air in a genre built on imitations. At first glance, you think you're playing Block Breaker, and then 30 hours later, you realize it's actually Ball of Exile. 2,000 hour new player, by the way. You get all the power fantasy condensed into nice bite-sized runs. You'll sit down to play, and before you know it, your head hurts, and it's 3 hours later. So let's get to it. Full warning, I will be saying the word ball a lot in this video. So I'd like to start with gameplay mechanics, and you already know how this works. At the beginning, you have a very limited assortment of power-ups, and as you advance through the levels and build up your town, you will open up more variety. Simple enough, but it's worth digging a bit deeper into the gameplay to see what's actually going on. At first, I didn't get it either. I treated this like Mega Bonk or any of the other million roguelike games in this genre. Honestly, this game is more of an ARPG than it is a Vampire Survivors clone. There's a beauty in the way all the different mechanics interact. So let's start with the fundamentals. And it's basically Block Breaker. You have a character, you throw balls at the enemies on screen, they ricochet around wildly, and once you've done enough damage, the enemy dies. Each character has their own unique passive that impacts your run in some sort of meaningful way. Typically, this changes the way you have to handle your balls. And here's a list of some, but not all of the passive abilities. Your balls pierce enemies. Your balls are doubled. No baby balls at all. Balls no longer do hit damage. Balls come from the top of the screen instead. Balls bounce off your giant shield for extra damage. Your balls are out of your control. Your balls become turn-based. Yeah, that's not a joke. If you select this character, the game becomes turn-based and you must plan your shots. Each turn your enemies advance one row. There's even a character that plays the game for you, so you can go outside and touch grass. Initially, you'll be limited to one character while you're getting your head around the game. But eventually you'll get access to a building called the Matchmaker. What this building does is allow you to bring a second character, which means now you have a second passive as well. And this really enables you to do some unique things. An example of this is the Shade character. His passive is that the balls he throws start at the top of the screen rather than on your character. This is pretty inconvenient because when enemies are constantly spawning, that means you're always hitting full health targets. You get a great opportunity at the back line, but the enemies that are getting closer to the danger zone become really hard to damage. So now we need some way to be able to target them. Enter the Juggler. What his passive does is allow him to throw the balls over the enemies, and they land directly on your mouse cursor. This gives you pinpoint precision and allows you to select whatever target you want. Suddenly, your character's weakness is just entirely gone. Another character, the Empty Nester. Her passive makes copies of one of her equipped special balls, at the cost of not having any baby balls. Why don't we pair her with another character, the Makeshift Sisyphus? He also does not have any baby balls, and he loses his direct hit damage. Instead, all of his AoE damage and status effects are multiplied by 4. I haven't even begun to talk about the special balls themselves yet. There's a large variety, and the way they're able to interact with each other does a great job of giving depth to an otherwise simple gameplay loop. I saw a video review from another content creator talking about how he felt every run ended up feeling the same. And in the beginning, that's sorta how I felt as well. It will take more than a couple runs for you to conceptualize what's actually going on here. The genius is in the combinations of the evolutions and the fusions. You have the room to be more creative and try things in your builds. Evolutions are the game's preset combinations, and typically they follow logical pairings, like fire and iron creates a bomb. Fusion, on the other hand, allows you to combine any two balls together to get the effects of both. So the first evolution was a bomb. Then we evolved it again with poison to create a nuclear bomb. And this does exactly what you think it would. Large amounts of damage, some radiation on a long cooldown. So now, how do we make this more interesting? If only we had a way to speed it up. Well, we do. Fusions. We have our damage, now we just need a way of applying it. Enter the Maggot. The Maggot is the evolution of the Cell and the Broodmother balls. Every enemy the maggots touch gets infected, and when the enemy dies, it explodes into baby balls. Every enemy we hit is now infected with nuclear bomb maggots. Suddenly, we have nuclear proliferation. You can sit back and watch as a chain reaction blows up every enemy on screen. This is generally how you use fusions. You need an effect and a way to apply that effect. In this clip, I'm using Holy Laser. Notice the white beam that is shooting out of the enemies and pay attention to how often you see it. This time we're fusing Holy Laser and Broodmother. This will give us a 25% chance to spawn a baby ball on every enemy our laser hits. These baby balls also have the laser property themselves, so every time they hit something, they will trigger it. Do you want to be able to apply a burn to every enemy on screen? You can. Start with light, add dark, now you have a light bulb, aka flicker. This will do a small amount of damage to every enemy on screen, but more importantly, it also applies status effects. So we fuse together flicker and burn, which will constantly set every enemy on screen ablaze. So now we can just sit back and watch the world burn. Or you could just pick your poison. For me personally, that's the game's biggest strength. In regards to your build, you always have choices. Your idea might not work, but in the end, you're free to try. Ball Pit allows you a tiny taste of ARPG character building in bite-sized doses. So up to this point, we've talked about the balls. Now, let's talk about the pit. The game is divided into 8 separate stages, each with their own enemies and bosses, as well as environmental hazards. Enemies will drop gold coins and experience gems when you kill them. Also, the occasional rainbow power-up. These rainbow power-ups are the fusion reactors, which we use to evolve our balls. On the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see the progress bar. This is very helpful as it lets you know when you're about to encounter one of the 3 boss enemies per run. The too many bosses are guaranteed fusion reactors, so this lets you gauge how quickly you'll need to level your balls before you can evolve them. When you pick up a fusion reactor, you're presented with 3 options. Evolution and fusion we've already talked about. Fission is the third option. It will assign 1 to 5 levels randomly to your power-ups. In order to progress to the next stage, you are required to beat the current stage multiple times with unique characters. This will force you to try out the different characters and builds that the game has on offer. Now that you're back from the pit, let's talk about the meta progression. On your runs, you're going to find blueprints. These allow you to construct new buildings inside your village. Each stage is clearly labeled with the amount of blueprints you have yet to find. This is a nice touch and is very much appreciated. Your village starts out as a small pit of land, but you're going to have to expand. You're going to need room for all of your characters to move in after all. Another nice thing, you won't have to worry too much about your placement, because you're able to freely move your buildings around. Once all your resource nodes and buildings have been placed, it's time for the harvest. You will fire your villagers and watch as they ricochet wildly, collecting resources and finishing construction. In order to keep growing your village, you're going to have to balance 4 resources: gold, wheat, wood, and stone. After your first few runs, you'll get buildings that will allow you to automate their collection. These buildings allow you to assign a villager, and then every couple minutes, it will collect nearby resources. The gold mine being the exception. It generates gold every time you slam a villager into it during a harvest. Your other construction projects will provide you all sorts of benefits. More experience, more rerolls and banishes, increased stats, and so on. Most buildings have upgrade tiers, so you'll always have something to be saving towards. The amount of resources generally seems pretty balanced. You don't really have to worry about maximizing your efficiency. The game even provides you with a boosted offline collection, so when you're not playing the game, you're still harvesting. By endgame, you even have access to buildings that will scale infinitely. That way, if you're ever struggling on a run, you can just farm some earlier stages to give yourself the edge. On the topic of difficulty, it honestly feels pretty good the entire way through. The first couple of runs on a stage might be a bit of a struggle, but after that, you'll be at a nice comfortable level. This continued all the way until the game's final stage. As your town expands, you'll get more banishes, more base levels on your special balls. All of this gives you more than enough agency to create a decent build every run. This is another opportunity to show how much care went into the game. I had built most of my base up and was just farming the final stage. Honestly, I was having fun and I didn't really want to stop playing. By then, I'd learned the game and could reliably get a strong run going. All of a sudden, I'm looking at a cutscene I've never seen before, and wouldn't you know it, here's New Game Plus. It appeared at the exact time I wanted it, and I had no idea it was even a thing. Ball Pit also does a really good job of providing you information. There's an encyclopedia you can access at any point during the game. This encyclopedia contains your gameplay statistics, the types of balls, passives, and the enemies in the game. It's really useful when you're trying to remember what you need to combine in order to find the evolution you're looking for. From the pause screen, you also have access to all of your character's information. This includes both characters' passives, their attributes, and everything else. I really don't have too many negative things to say about this game, but if I had to be pressed for some, I don't like the first boss. He's the hardest boss in the game just because of how annoying it is to target his weak spot. You can and probably should build around this, but it's a pretty big departure from every other boss in the game. Also, some of the combinations you can do of fusions and evolutions are just ridiculously overpowered. You'll wipe the entire screen of enemies over and over, and there's nothing they can do to stop you, until you get to a boss. But honestly, I guess that's just kind of the nature of the genre. My final con, the game doesn't have an endless mode. I don't know that it would really work the way the game is right now, but apparently New Game Plus does scale infinitely, so that'll keep you busy for quite a while. If Ball Pit ever does get a DLC, I'm sure an endless mode will be one of the most requested features. I love this game. It was fun from beginning to end. It was ridiculously addictive. I'm not someone who ever touches New Game Plus, but I wasn't ready to be done yet. As soon as I unlocked it, I was immediately right back in the first stage. I just had to take a break from playing with my balls so I could go ahead and get this review out. So for anyone still listening, my verdict, this game is amazing. You should give it a try for yourself. Thank you very much for watching. Please like the video, subscribe if you feel generous. Game of the year.